Okay, this is Archer Avalon, and this is Eternal Life Church. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to be a godly a wife. So, a wife, it's very important. It's an honorable position, and I think we need to get back to that. I think as a woman, one of the things that you should do is turn off that terrible little thing called the television and get away from mainstream media. Get back to this book. There's one verse in the Bible that says, a wise woman buildeth up her house with her hands, or a wise woman buildeth up her house, and an unwise woman teareth it down with her hands. As a woman, you have so much power. You don't realize how important your contribution is to your family, to your husband. There is that old saying that behind every good man is a good woman, or behind every great man is a great woman. And there's some truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that. Men, they play for points. And it's important for you to give points, to kind of remain in awe of your husband. If he's done something awesome, you need to remind him, wow, that was really awesome, honey. How did you do that? I'm so impressed by that, right? There's a great book. It's not necessarily written from a Christian perspective, but it's still a valuable book. The only thing I disagree with it on is it does, say, it's open to, sex before marriage. Fornication is such a funny word. It's something that... It's a good book. It's called The Queen's Code by Alison Armstrong. And I think she's really, really kind of nailed it about how women can be and how important a woman can be if she can remain submissive and to be respectful of her husband. Not cutting him off sexually if he has sexual needs, not interrupting him when he speaks, not any way poo-pooing his earning potential. What are some other ways? What I'm talking about there is ways that you emasculate men. You take away their power. And if you're a woman who has a fear about masculine power, you need to examine why that is, and perhaps change your perspective to heal yourself. Maybe perhaps you grew up in an existence where your father wasn't around. Maybe you grew up in a divorced family and it was you and your mother all the time. And you think that a man who is very powerful might just turn away from you and leave you. I can honestly tell you that most men do not want to leave their wives. There is this concept of polygamy and lustfulness and men wanting maybe a second wife. I can personally tell you that I do not have any desire to have more than one wife. I've already had one who would want you to believe that I am her ex-husband and she is my ex-wife, but that's just the satanic Babylonian court system that rules much of the English-speaking world. So, what I want you to realize is that as a woman, you have power, but your power is not a direct power. Your power is an indirect power. By beautifying the world, by making yourself beautiful, and by beautifying the place in which you live, that provides so much value. How can you nurture? How can you help him to be the best that he can be? And realize that for men, sex leads to intimacy, whereas for a woman, intimacy leads to sex. So your husband hopefully will realize ways of how he can sort of turn up your volume knob for sexual attraction and things like that. So, but as a wife though, as a mother, your role is to give, to be a giver, but you need to honor certain boundaries. You don't want to continue to give, and be trampled upon. There's that old book called The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, where the tree just gives and gives and gives, and I think it gets cut down in the end. You don't want to give your love and be trampled on. You need to learn your own particular boundaries and learn what things aren't good for you, and learn when let your husband know when he's not being loving. I don't think I mentioned this in my other video about how to be a good husband, but I'll mention it here for women. There's a great book by Emerson Eggerichs called Love and Respect. And men don't need love the way like a child does. Men don't really necessarily need to be loved in a babying sort of way. What men need is respect. Men really like that. If you can learn to be super respectful to your husband and remain in awe of his abilities and learn how to nurture his natural masculine instincts and be unafraid of his masculine power and actually give more of your power away to him, I think you're going to have a wonderful relationship. For example, like if your husband asks, what should we do with this? Say, whatever you think, honey. I fully back your decision. I fully am, you can figure it out. You're smart. And this doesn't mean that you can't rule parts of your family. You should. I mean, like the house, like the kitchen, I think should be your bailiwick, your number one place. I think learning great cooking skills is great. Learning how to prepare food for your husband is super important. The sexual stuff, you can figure that out. I don't think, there's a term or there's some idea these days that, if you're not physically attractive, if you're not affable, you're not lovable. And I think that's totally wrong. I mean, you should work on maintaining your attractiveness. Men should too. We're here in these bodies. We need to take care of them. So that's important, to maintain your physical attractiveness. I'm talking about that in my upcoming book, The Sacred Bedroom. I show you how to make that happen more easily. And it doesn't require cosmetics and Botox and all this stuff. It's all natural techniques that come from the ancient Taoist tradition. So keep an eye out for that. I probably will. Well, I'm going to find a publisher for it. All my books up until this point have been self-published, but this one I'm going to find a publisher for, and we'll get it out there to you. But hopefully this is starting to sort of ring a bell, How can you be respectful of your husband while maintaining your own integrity? To let your husband know when he's being unloving. I think if men can let their wives know when they're being disrespectful, and women can let their husbands know when they're being unloving, that's very important. And not expecting your husband to be a mind reader, and not expecting your husband to have the same level of feelings that you do. Men have feelings, but feelings do not rule. Thought and logic rule, and that's good. That's not an accident. For women, feeling and nurturing rules, not logic and reason, and that's good. That's good. So hopefully that helps you and you become the most awesome wife ever. We need awesome wives out there. So I'm going to sign off by saying, as always, the light in me honors the light in you. Peace, and may God love you. Bye-bye. Well, God does love you. I got to work on my outtake. May God bless you. Bye-bye.